You get software with your laser scanner that will let you combine scans or register scans, take some quick measurements, view around in it. But really, at the end of the day, you're going to need to create a diagram and do some analysis on your work. So we're going to show you how to do that in the diagram program with our CZ Point Cloud tool. Laser scanner software, like if you're using a Faro scanner, you get the Scene software, or a Leica scanner, you'll have Cyclone. You can bring your data in, but you can export that information out once it's registered and the color has been combined to the scan points. You can export that data out as a PTS file, and that's what we open up in the CZ Point Cloud tool. Now, once we open up, and I've already have a little diagram up so we don't have to go through the loading process, but this is the CZ Point Cloud tool, and I selected it from here. And you click here to open up a file, and here's your file type list, PTS files. And once you've opened up a PTS file, the program will index that data and compress it and put it into our CZ Point Cloud format, CZP file. So that always takes a little bit of time to do, but once you have that CZP file, they load up very quickly. A very large file could take only 20, 30 seconds to load at the most. And, obviously we're dealing with at times could be millions of points. We've had a customer that worked with a 2 billion point file, and that took quite a long time to compress, but once he had it, it moved very smoothly like this. So the program does work on 32-bit systems. We made it so you didn't have to go out and buy high-end equipment, though it is nice to have a good video card with some RAM on it. This is an 18 million point file. I could easily have a 100 million point file in here, no problem. And it works just the same. What happens is we're indexing the data, so we're limiting what you see, but you still see the diagram very well, but we let you bring in the points you need if you need a little bit more, and we'll look at that a little bit later. So once we bring in a file like this three-way intersection here, we can clean it up with these point tools. We can do keep window or a hide window, so you could do a side view on it, and if you wanted to clean up something underneath it or above it, you would just go in here and do like a hide window and hide the points, and you could do a top-down view, and you could trim out just a section that you want to work with, and you can just keep working with it. You could always come back here and show all the points and bring them all back, or you could actually hit save and save pieces, different sections of the cloud as individual files and then work on them separately. And so you have that flexibility, but you never will lose any data. It's always in the original PTS file, and you could always keep the original CZP intact and mess around with that. So that's cleaning up, and I'm going to go quickly through this, and later on if you have questions we can talk about it. Another thing to remember, and this is kind of like from the total station days, which this still is the total station days, but a lot of people would have the elevation in their total station set to 500 feet or maybe even 5,000. It was an old system, that surveyors used because they always wanted positive data. So when you would bring in that 3D data into the program here, if you looked at it in 3D and had our ground plane on, there's the ground plane. You can see this data is floating above it, and sometimes you would see the data floating way, way above it, and it would make it kind of difficult to work in. So we had developed the tool Elevation Adjust, which if you clicked on that, it would tell you, okay, there's a certain distance that you can adjust this data, and it would bring it down to the whole drawing or the whole data down to the ground plane. So, and I point that out because your laser scanners have an altimeter in them, and if it's turned on, it could possibly do just this, raise things above ground plane very high. So just remember your elevation adjust. So now that I have this data in, one of the first things I need to do is how do I navigate around? I have all this data. What am I going to do to get to where I want to get? Well, just like in our 3D viewer, if I hold the left mouse key down, I can move up and down, left and right. I can roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. I can pan by holding the mouse wheel down. And I can change the sensitivity of this zooming in and out with the mouse wheel by just going to settings and say, okay, I want to go 7 feet every time I roll the mouse wheel, and it's a little bit quicker. Or if I'm in a room, I might set it to 6 inches, okay? But still, we're moving around here, and we're trying to get, let's say, focus in on this area here. We have this area we want to work on. So the neatest tool we have for doing that is Seek. And this is kind of the king of the navigation tools. You click on Seek, and you pick the area this is really setting a rotation point. You click, let's say, right there. And once I do that, everything I do revolves around where I clicked with Seek. So I can rotate, but you notice it's zeroing in around that. And even if I were to do zoom window, here, click on zoom window, and let's say zoom over here, watch when I let up, it's going to zoom in on this area. Seek forces that to be the center of our universe, right here. So once I get kind of where I want to be, I turn off Seek, and then I can pan around again and work. So Seek is our nice tool. The next thing, if you're not using a dual monitor, and dual monitors are great if you're doing point cloud work because you can have this over on one and on the other, we can still split the screen here just by grabbing the title bar here and moving over and touching the left side of the screen and then grabbing this, touching the right side of the screen. We can set up where we have 2 screens, or, that one's not impeding the other one while we're diagramming. So that's your split screen thing. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to want to start maybe drawing. Okay, so we're dealing with millions and millions of points, but let's keep it, nice and simple, and think of these as just a bunch of 3D points, and like connecting the dots, we want to snap a line between them. So if I were to pick this line tool here, and I'm writing notes while I'm talking, sorry. You'll notice we have this cursor come up when I pick the line tool, and it's a special cursor that we've developed. You can see I could zero in on the spot right here for my line, and you can see kind of a thin line. And then I could start to draw and move down here and click again. Now you don't see anything here. And if I come over to this drawing area and zoom all, and I'll zoom back, you can see we have actually drawn a line. So everything we do on here or on this side is going to show up in both screens. Kind of the what you see is what you get. So what I'm going to do is I can reduce, one thing I can do is reduce the density of the point cloud just so you can see that line has been drawn, or up that a little bit more so we can see it. And the next thing we could do is come over to our properties, and I'll set it to a thickness of 5, and let me change the color to maybe red or blue. Let's try blue. And that way when we're drawing, maybe it'll stand out just a little more. So you can kind of see it a little more, and we could try red and see. Sometimes blue is better, sometimes red's better. Let me give this a name. So we have a lot of ways to see what we're doing here. There's red, and I might just drop that down just a little bit. There we go. So I'm just clicking a point here, and I'm clicking a point here. And as you can see, what's special about this cursor is, as I was talking about earlier, if I move into a darker area, it'll turn kind of into the reticle in the crosshair there. It'll turn kind of like into a night vision scope, a night scope. You can see the green dot right in there. And then as you move out, you see the X a little better, and as it gets lighter, you can see right on the edge. It just helps you kind of zoom in on what you're doing. Okay. Let's see. Oh, so another thing to know is while we're drawing, what we've been doing here is all 3-dimensional. So you can see we have a little bit of a slope here, and you can see the lines we've drawn are following that slope. Okay. So if I were to grab a curve and begin here at this curb right here and start drawing, I'm clicking on the curb. And as I'm going along, if you look down here, this is our delta Z area. That shows us the height, the change in height from the last point we clicked on. And why is that valuable? Well, right now it's telling me 0.01 feet or 0.02 feet. It's really going to be based on what our units are set to, so I'm set to feet. But in a point cloud, there can be a lot of loose points or a tree or something. And so if you're kind of looking down like this, maybe, you want to make sure, you can obviously see there's a little bit of change in the slope, but you don't want to, you don't want to see something like as you move here, it's 0.9, 0.8. Now watch, I hit the wall, it's 1 foot. Hit the top of the wall, it's 5 feet. If you see anything drastically change, it could be you're hitting the top of a tree limb or something, and then you can just not click there and move around till you find something. You can click and then hit escape and back out, just like you're diagramming. So it's just, keep in mind, it's just like diagramming. See here, we have our curb here, and it followed the, well, here, I should have shown you the little 3D. I'll just kind of start here and show you a little 3D, a little more 3D element by just clicking. There we go. It's all real world scale. Your point cloud's real world, and you have a nice 3D view. So again, I showed you we can adjust point density. If we just need to see our work a little better, we can change point size to thicken it up, to really see some areas that might be thinned out a little bit. We also have some other really great tools like our HD preview. So if I zoom back far enough, you might be able to see that there's the word meadow here in the sign. But as I zoom in, remember, we're just dealing with a fog of points, right? A cloud or fog of points. So the closer we get, they disperse. So if I thicken the points up a little bit, this might help me see it, making them thicker and thicker. There I can see sunburst meadow, but now it's a little bit too thick to be drawing in, maybe, for my liking. So I'll thin the point size down. What I'll do next is an HD preview right here. And when I hit the HD preview, it'll go out to all the points we're not displaying. And well, there weren't a lot there, but it'll bring in more, all the points it can bring in right here. So let's see if we can get a better shot here. Well, it did bring them in, but I might have to thicken them up just a little bit. I thought that was going to come out a little better. But there just aren't too many points in this version of the drawing. But that HD preview, again, here, I'll thicken this up. There we go. Hit HD preview. There. Now we did HD preview. We can see more points, so that brightened it up, which allows us, while we're in that preview, maybe to draw a little bit more. I can draw along the edge of this wall here like that. Zoom on. You can see I kind of drew right over in here. So if I were to click over here and erase that, it'll erase in there. So watch what happens, though, the minute I move the mouse, that HD preview disappears. It's a volatile view. It's just to give you a quick view of what's in front of you close up, without bogging down the program. You zoom in on an area, do your HD preview, and then you work on it. But if you move, it goes away, so you're not holding on to it. So let's say this is something very important that you want to hold on to, a piece of evidence you just need to see for a little while longer from different angles. You just come up to the Point Tools menu, and you can do a high def window. And this is like high def preview, except what happens is, oh, why didn't I do it? It brings in those points, but it doesn't, they're not volatile. Okay, well, let's see what's going on here. It could be just this file doesn't have quite enough points in it. But normally, I would just...
It did show there for a minute.
It was fun. So funny, of course, because I'm doing my web demo now, and everything changes. There. Okay, so that's a high def view, and then we'll do our high. Oh, let me do a. Let's try that one more time. Let's see what happens. Okay, It works great. It's my mistake because I told it not to bring in the HD points. It's not forgiving me. So the high def view just gives us that high def window, gives us that high def view and lets us bring it in. So we talked about the high def preview, high def window. So let's take a look. I'll move down here. I'm going to move, and let's say we want to use the curve tool. I'll zoom out a little bit more. And we've got this section of curve here, and we have this long section of road here that we would like to draw in 3D. We don't want to keep zooming in and moving our way out. So what do? We can start the curve command, and we could just kind of eyeball it up here and start drawing, and it wouldn't be too bad. But if you really want to zoom in on it, you have mag window right below HD preview. So you click on the mag window, and you can see that magnifies everything. And so I'll move the mag window over here. I'll make it a little bigger. Now it zooms in. Now if you move over, whoops, let me click and get over here. If you move over, you can see the mouse wheel will change the magnification. I can zoom up to 5 times magnification, or 4, or whatever I want, 10. And I can hold down the Control or Shift key and roll the wheel and thicken the points up in the mag view. So now when I'm back in here, and notice it's bringing in all the data points. It kind of washes them in there. So I'll start all the way at the back end there. And if you look on the right side of the screen, you can see where I've started the curve. But all I have to do is use the right side to kind of line up, and then use the mag window to get that red dot right on an edge. So now, and you'll notice if you look down in the lower left corner of the mag window, the delta Z is also displayed. So in case we were to hit the tree here, you'd see the 17 feet, you know, and you'd back off on that. So I'll move in right to that edge here, and then I'm going to start the curve on the edge. Get this right there. And see, I can kind of wash in here. Okay, there's a little bit of the curve right there. So this really helps us see the data. Once you start using this tool, you just kind of get addicted to it. I mean, I almost have it on all the time. And I can even see the last little bit of points here, and I can get right on one of them and just double click or whatever. And I'll turn that mag window off for a second and seek here. Now you can see we've got that nice 3D line all the way down there. And if I zoom all over here, there it is. And I'll use the length tool and just click on this. That's 147 feet of roadway we drew with the mag window. Well, the nice thing about the mag window is it'll let you zoom all day long. We could have done 1,000 feet of roadway without a bunch of zooming around. So that's a key tool for you. And just a little quick note, if you were zoomed in, like say right here, and you were clicking to draw, so you were drawing here and you were here, and you don't have enough screen, but you want to keep drawing, well, you can't click your mouse to navigate now because you're in the middle of drawing. If you hold down your Control key, then you can now navigate. You can pan and then start clicking again. You can hold down the Control key and rotate, move around. And so with the Control key, it just gives you access to, you know, moving around in here, and then I'll hold down the Control key again. I could just use my mouse to navigate again without slowing me down. So there you go. Now, some of you are probably interested in only, or you think you're interested in only doing 2D diagrams, or maybe you are. There's a lot of times where that's very helpful just to be able to do a quick 2D sketch. So what you can do is go to our Trace 2D mode right here. And what happens is no matter where you click in the cloud, if I draw a line from here to here, it does snap to these points, but it goes all the way to the 0 level. That doesn't make a bunch of 3D lines or slopes or anything. So you go into 2D trace mode, go into top-down view, you know, maybe zoom in on an area you want to draw, and it's very easy. You're still snapping to the real world points. You're getting nice, accurate drawings. I'm not using a curve, I'm just using a continuous line. But see, I can just click around, and if you look over in here, you can see it's being created. So it doesn't take very long to get a 2D model out.
That's great for doing a top-down view of a floor plan if you're doing a crime scene.
Exactly, and then we recommend that, and we'll show you that a little way. That's another little trick. If you're working indoors and doing crime scene, start out by doing a top-down view and do everything in 2D, and after you've zeroed out your ground plane, that ground level adjust thing, and that way you can get the outline of your room without any errant 3D glitches, and use 3D Builder in our program to give a wall height, and then you can just go back and forth. So you can switch back and forth between this mode. But keep in mind, this is snapping to the data but flattening out the Z value or taking out that elevation. So I'll turn this off, go back here, but you'll see now we have all that data flat on the 0 ground plane. That's why I left this up a little bit, so it would be very obvious what's going on here. And if you notice, too, when I was showing, why is this not leveled out? What data is holding this above? There are a couple of points here, and if I increase my point size, you'll see that there are, even though the laser scanner is above ground, every now and then you just get some weird stuff with your scanner, and that's the stuff that we can use the hide window on, to remove points that could be possibly getting in our way. So just give it a second here. Remember, when you do something like hide points, had to go through all, now those points are out of there, and if we were to go back and do the elevation adjust, it would show us that we really could adjust this whole data by 26 feet, and it would move everything down. I'm not going to do that right now, but it will. It's all automated for you if you haven't ever used that tool before. Okay. So another really fun tool. You're tracing all these roads out, you're tracing these sidewalks out, and you've got all these trees and everything in your way, and why not work from underneath it? So we click on Flip Z. And now we're underneath the roadway, and we still can draw in 3D or 2D mode. So I can start a line over here and work my way through it, and draw a line here, and do the stop bar here. And you can see all this data is appearing and in 3D, but it just kind of gives us a little cleaner view of the world here. So I can flip Z anytime I want, back and forth, and we can do that. Another thing too is that I don't believe I showed you. I'm sorry, I talked about the what you see is what you get. What I will do is show you that if we change this line type, for instance, to, I'll change it back to reset its properties, and I'll change the line type to a double yellow line. And if you look, what you get here in this program, you're seeing in 3D as well. So if I change this line here to a guardrail, for instance, you're going to get your 3D guardrail. Okay, so all the work you do here, so really you kind of have an active 3D viewer here. You don't have to keep going into the 3D preview to see what you've done. Everything is going to show up. Even if you were to click on this guardrail and go to the 3D builder and change its properties to, I'll give it a height of 5 feet, 6 feet, maintain the 2D line type color in 3D, which means it's going to turn red, and I'll apply it, and you can see what happened. Went up 5 feet, and it's red. So we can put all our line types, any symbols we place in here, like a car. We can do a number of things. We can, as we wait for the symbols to load up, give it a moment, please. There we go. So we could have a couple of points, let's say wheel well centers that we snap to in the program right here, and we'll grab the Camaro. And what happens is the first point you snap to, you notice the car is floating. If you look in the 2D, let's see if I can move it in there. If you look in the 3D window, it's floating down at the 0 ground level. it will take on the elevation of the point you snap to. So if I snap to this point in the 2D window and then line it up, there we go. So your car is in there. Now if you just wanted to place a car in here, you'll notice it will find the elevation for you just so you can get it up there. It won't align it, and you can use our align tool to align it, but you can easily at least get the elevation in there. So I worked both sides. At one time I did it in here, and one time I did it over in here, and there's your vehicle. So what you see is what you get. We're getting our 3D model in here, and we can tell that things look good or don't. So I'll erase this drawing here. Now notice I erased my drawing, it's disappeared. And we'll open up the room demo here. So I'm opening up a little section of office here. And you'll notice in this example, I kind of ahead of the game a little bit. The ceiling is off. So just as a reminder, you would come in, your first view of this would have a ceiling on it. And it might have some junk around it. So you might do the top view and want to clean that up with the, there might have been a bunch of stuff around here. There would be a bunch of extra points, and you want to clean this up. So we have, remember, we have these hide window or keep window, and you keep what you want, but it's hard to put a window around a shape like this. So you're going to want to rotate it. So if I click on the rotate tool, see it's rotating, I think 1 degree is what I have it set to. But if I hold down my control key, here's a little trick for you. It'll go 22.5 degrees, and then I can just quickly line it up. So once I square it up, then I can just drag my window around it and just do a keep window and keep this part. Then you do a side view, and then you do a hide window, and you would drag a window around the upper edge of the ceiling and remove the ceiling. You know, and you could always bring it back later or save it without it like I did here. So what I'll do in this case is I'll do what I want to show you is, first of all, let me see if we're elevated above. Nope, I've already done a ground level adjust. So I'm going to do I want to trace out this room. So I'm going to do a top-down view, and even though we're going to do a 3D homicide here, I'm going to go into 2D trace mode, go to a nice thick blue line, start my continuous line. I'll click right on the edge here, right on the corner here, just working my way around. Now, we only snap to points in the cloud points, not our own geometry, because this is, you know, we're maintaining the accuracy of just dealing with the points. But when you want to close off a corner like this, instead of eyeballing it, you can just go back to the left side and just snap to it, just like you might have done if you've used the program. That's what you do, and just hit enter. So now we've created a room, and if I did a little side view, you can see we have it's a 2D trace mode, so everything's down on the floor, and that's good. I'll do a top-down view again. I'm going to save this. Yep. Now I'm going to quickly outline this table. I'm just going to go fast, and I'll outline this chair just to get a general layout of it. You can see I just want it for my symbol placement. And now the body, my oldest son, he finally found a job he can do. Here. Playing dead, get it? He's lazy. Not really. So I have a good story with this. You notice I've done 2 scans to get this. And right now, by the way, I'm just doing a body outline, and this is going to help us do the body poser. It just makes it easier when we're working over here. So I've outlined the body positioning, but I had to do 2 scans for this room, and I did 5 or 6 minute scans a piece. And so I told him, I go, you need to lay in a position like this and don't move, because I'm going to have to do 2 scans. And so he put his headset on with his music so he could do something. And I started the scan here and decided I'd run back to my office and do some work instead of standing there for 5 minutes. God, that seems like forever. 25 minutes later, somebody came in and said, hey, weren't you working with Alex? He's still laying in there, and we heard the machine beep a long time ago. And so I had to run back in there, and he hadn't moved a muscle. But he did complain. He was able to move his lips, I guess, and moan a little bit about it. But he was good enough to sit through one more scan without even moving, so there's no blur or anything. Okay, so I've got my outlines in here. I'll go back to this views, and I'm going to thin up the density so you can see it a little bit. So I'm going to click on the outer wall, go to our 3D builder, and not put on wall paint, and give it an 8-foot wall height, and apply that. Okay, so there you have your walls in here, and then we'll go grab a symbols for a chair and a table, and I'll go to the crime symbols, and let's go to office, tables, and this just, I can measure this. It happens to be a 30-inch by 6-foot table, I believe. Is it this one? 30 by 72. So I'll just pop that table, and you can see it moving around in the 3D view, but I'm going to snap it right to the corner, line it up, and I'll go to chairs and grab a folding chair, kind of put that in here like that. Maybe zoom up a little bit, click on the chair and line them up a little bit. Get out of symbols. So we'll go down in here, thicken up the points a little bit more, or not thicken up the points, sorry. Increase the density. And we can see the table is pretty much spot on with the data in here. The chair is not tall enough. If I thicken up the points just a little bit, maybe you can see, hopefully you can see, this is the point cloud for the chair, and here's the chair symbol. So I'm going to click on the chair, go into 3D Builder, and just set it up to 2.7 feet. Let's see what happens here. There, well, a little higher than that, 2.8. See, so I just adjusted the elevation of the chair, and I could just keep tweaking it if I wanted it to be 2.85. And now I've got my chair symbol in place of that outline, so I can remove the outline, or put it on another layer. But that just, sorry?
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking a question. So that made it very easy for me to get nice data in here for symbols. And now I want to place a body in here and have a body poser in here for the program. So the body poser isn't going to keep slowing because, you know, it's all 3D. We don't want to slow it down. What I do is I don't close the point cloud. This is a little trick. It makes it go much faster. I'll minimize the point cloud, and it's right down in the corner here. And I can bring it back up like this, and I can just, once I minimize it, now it doesn't slow down at all while you're placing or doing any work. So there's my body. Let's go to our body poser. And I'll move the body poser here so you can see him. And we're going to do lying on his template for lying on his face. He had a t-shirt on, and it was dark green, and pants blue, and we'll just leave his tennis shoes and maybe give him a little better, more skin color here. It is Oregon, so he's probably a little paler than that. But so we can see this is him lying down here, and that's his left arm. And as we move over to the body, you can see it tells us up here that you're on, it's on the left arm right there, left elbow. So I'm going to move the left elbow out, and I'm going to drop the arm down. I'm just going to do this quick. You can play around with this a little more, but I want you to see how you get it fast by just looking at your thing. Might be easier to do a top-down view in here and bring that up a little bit like that. Okay, and the down leg is going to be out like this, and we'll just kind of move that like this. We'll just see how that looks. Not great, but close. We just want to get close. So we've got our body, and you'll notice too, let me just do a little side view. His face is directly on the ground, but he was looking to the right. So you go to the turn part here where it says head. Now let's turn his head to the right. And you can see the head turning in there. and I'm just going to place him. And so this isn't really a point cloud demo. This is the body poser demo, but I want you to see how it works. I snap to the center of the body at the center of the waist, and I'm going to get the tip of the head right about there. So it's obviously messed up here, but pretty close there. If you just double click on the same body, now it gets kind of interesting. We'll do a top-down view again. There he is. We can just say, okay, well, this arm needs to move down a little bit more like that, and his right leg, or excuse me, right leg needs to come over, and his left leg needs to come over a little bit. And then if you just want to see what it looks like, you hit update, and now you're not back out of the program anymore, so you can kind of play with it a little bit and update. So you get your body fairly close. I could do a little more tweaking here, but I want to keep at it. I'm just going to close that. There's our body in here. We'll bring up the point cloud tool, and now we have our body posed and inside. Of course, we can keep tweaking him and have his face in the right direction. So that is the basics for just doing. You can follow this method for working through the entire scene. That 2D flat thing for tracing outline and 3D builder. Another thing too is if I wanted to grab a line, single line and snap to the target here. You can see I have a line here, and then I'll move. I'm holding down the control key so I can rotate, and I'm going to snap up to the, oh, I take that back. I have to stop. I'm at 2D trace mode. Turn that off. I was in the mode. Now I'll click start a single line. I'm going to make a trajectory line. I'm going to click at the center of the target there, and I'm going to click at the center of the target here, and I want you to see we have a nice little trajectory line following the angle of it, okay? So we can select this line, go to the 3D Recon tools, and go to the trajectory cone, and we could do a nice little trajectory cone. Let me do apply. 5-degree tolerance, so we have a 5-degree cone. So there you go. There's your trajectory cone. And if you want to see it you can flip it the other direction if you want. So I'll double click on it to bring the tool back up. I can hide the fills and apply that, and then you can see through it. And we can actually even flip the direction of it like that. So you could might help you calculate trajectory. But you're seeing it all real time in 3D, which is kind of nice. You can do a lot of work with the cloud while you're creating your diagram.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
This is Sean Caudell. Is
Hi,
it
Sean.
easy to change the layers on that? Let's say that cone. You want to change the layer right now, so you could hide and show it. Is that pretty quick and easy in the program?
Sure. You would just select the cone and just go to properties where we were changing color and thickness. Click on this guy right here, the layers button. Hit show more layers, and I'll put him on layer 5. And so now that is on layer 5, and if I highlight it, if you look up in this heads-up display or down in the command line, you'll notice when I highlight it says layer 5. So now it's on layer 5. This property is just to set layers and reset, select things and put them on layers. But Layer Manager is right here next to your units, and you can click on 5 and just hide that layer, and it's gone.
Okay.
So everything could be on layers, and now it's gone. So you can so we can select the body and put the body on layer 8.
And you can name those layers as well, so you can remember what it is.
Right. So I could click on 8, name it body, hit OK, and 5. Hit the little N here for name and cone, and there you go. And then we can turn them back on or off or hide the body like that. And then zoom all here. Just kind of, now you'll see the body symbol. Obviously the cloud body's still there, but not the body symbol. So yeah, and you could save the stick and put him on it, the stick body, and put him. Yeah, so we can bring those back and break it up into any, a multitude of layers, and so absolutely, that is the answer. Yes.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, so dimensioning, of course, if we had a point, let me make this red here. If I had a point, maybe here, yeah, let's go. Let me try something else. Sorry, I'm just kind of getting a corner here. Point here and a point down here. And we could do draw a line between those points. And then we could use the length tool and change that to height of 2. So we have you can see where I snapped the length tool to the line in here. It elevates it in 3D here. So it's a 7.2 foot high line. I can also dimension that line. I can go into the dimension tool, and if you haven't seen this before, we have the Show 3D checkbox. And if you hit Show 3D, and then the easiest thing to do is to do a single-click dimension. That way I don't have to pick 2 points. I'm going to touch the line and move a dimension out. And it does tell me it's, now it's hard to see in here. It does say it's 7.2 feet high. And what it does, this is very, here, let me hide all the points here. Turn points off. Okay, it puts a witness line for the dimension 1 down to the bottom, and it angles up 1 up to the top. There's a very narrow thing there. So we can do 3D dimensioning, and we can use the length tool to measure anything we want. So we essentially can get slope distances or just do normal dimensioning. Go back to the normal dimensioning tool. Don't do 3D single-click dimension, and then get that dimension and get that dimension. So there you go. So you can see we're dimensioning. So you can turn off this point cloud and work on this as a drawing. I mean, remember, it's just the total station on steroids. You're getting all these millions of points. You're creating your drawing. You're picking what you want, and you can finish your drawing up, but you could also shut this off, but you could come back a week later and open that cloud up again if you forgot something and add more to it. We can do an animation in here, and I'll just I'll go quick. I'll change my line type to kind of a fun little animation line type, and I'll grab a curve here. I'm just going to show you a fast one. Obviously, it's just using our animation tools. Okay, so if I zoom window here, there you can see we have a nice little path going in here like that. Let's see, which way is that path going? Aha. Let's change him to 0. There we go. So the path is going in that direction, and I will go to the recon tools. I'll just quickly throw in a KEP on here and put in 45 miles an hour. Apply, grab a symbol. Probably not a chair. Let's do a car or something. Let's do our trusty old Camaro. Move the Camaro on to the KEP, the key event point in the animation tool. And if we look at the animation, oh, we got to close the cloud. So I'm closing the cloud here. Run animation. So whatever drawing you have, this is what's showing up in the animation. So if I run that 45 mile an hour animation, you can see the car following it along. But we want to see the point cloud in. So once you're in the animation tool, here's that point cloud icon right here. So you load up that same intersection. Give it a second here. And I'll show you a more finished example here, but just so I wanted you to see the process. So now, zoom up on this a little bit. There we go. I don't know if you guys can see the car or not, but I can actually run the animation. Now I hit play. It's going to start. It takes a second. There's so many points in here now. It's got to process. There it goes. It jumped all the way to here. It's just processing it. Once you build your 30 frame per second animation or whatever, it's going to work out great. And you could flip it to the point of view of the driver, and then you could see and drive through your point cloud. Okay, so that's how we do create the animation in here. We just bring the data in once we're ready for it. I'll shut that off, and now I'm going to open up. Give me 1 second here and open up I want you guys to see what this looks like. So here's a little single position scan in a neighborhood, and after we created a very simple drawing of a roadway and then created an animation. So we've got multiple vehicles. We have a truck pulling into a driveway, and you can see all the road path and everything. It doesn't look very impressive. Here, cars pulling out of the driveway, backing out. And is this showing up for everybody? Anna, do you see the animation?
Yeah, I'm seeing it fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit jerky, but that's normal with the web camera.
Yeah, it's just GoToMeeting. Okay, so we have a car. So now you're seeing the animation. Okay, not obviously as fulfilling as you would like it to be, right? So now we insert the point cloud in it without anything else, and it just changes the whole look and feel of it. You know, we have our trees blocking the vehicle. You can't hardly see it. Now the car is going to back out. So it's the exact same animation. We just pulled in. Now we can see the sidewalk and everything, and come in here, and now we can see the police car coming in. That last animation that you saw, that was that intersection. Here you go. This is what that intersection we just looked at. So we have a nice little animation showing that. And then we have a view from inside each car in that crash.
So you can take the driver's view.
Yeah, here's your driver's view here. He's the one who got hit and is spinning around. And then this is the guy who hit him right here. Notice there he goes, and boom, there he goes, and moves off the side. So that's a neat feature to have to be able to add that in. Wheel centers. Let me show you. I'm sure hopefully somebody in here is doing a little bit of crush, but I can just give you. It's kind of interesting to see it anyway. The nice thing about having a laser scanner is it's going to save you hours of work for doing crush analysis and some other work too. So in this case, I have a Ford Fusion, and I can you can see there's quite a bit of deformation in here. So maybe if I want to see how much the axles were deformed, I want to go from the center of an axle to the center of an axle. Well, what's the easiest way to do that? I'm going to change my line thickness and color back to something here to look at. I can grab a 3-point circle, and I can find this circle, any of these concentric circles on this tire, like that. So now I've got that tire, and then I'll move myself around to the other side here. And you remember I can bring up the mag window, grab the 3-point circle, and look right in there if I want. I'll just go right on the edge. Well, I'm not going to go there. That was a bad place. Let's see here. Let's try this here, and then here, and then I had it for a second. There. Oh, see, it's finding other points. Boom. Click. Okay, so I got my 2 3-point circles. If you zoom in here, you can see they're off a little bit. But how do I get the centers of these? Well, I'll start my single line for the axle, and I have this handy-dandy little snap tools right here, and this one happens to be snap to the center. And if I start my line and touch this circle, it goes right to the center of it. Click on it again, touch that circle, right to the center. Now you can see, bring the density down. We just did our wheel centers, and we could finish that on the other side. And I'll just show you the finished drawing for that. Let's see what I have here. Okay. So what we ended up doing is outlining the vehicle, using our crush tool to measure it like this and get our crush measurements. And then this chart here came from the vehicle database up here. And what we were able to do is go open up the vehicle database, bring in this 2008 Ford Fusion, see all the data, bring in our Ford Fusion symbol as an exemplar model, and make sure the height, length, and width matched all of this data. And you can see it in 3D over here. It's just kind of, here's we were able to use the exemplar and that and create our crush. And then we use the crush tool, which is here on right here, the crush tool right there. Oh, this is crush. And calculate the actual speed at the barrier speed. So in this case, we got 18.65 miles per hour. And you got your chart and all your data right there. So you use your point cloud, of course, to get your outline, your deformation, and your and finish it all up in the diagram program. Like profile of a road. So I'll show you how quick and easy this is. I'm loading up I'm hoping this is what I'm thinking it is. It's a nice, oh yes. So we have this nice big long section of scanned road here. You can see there's even a vehicle on it. So instead of making it hard on ourselves, I'll just zoom out here, turn on the mag window, go back and set my red line here, start a curve, and I'll just go, and if you look in the mag window, I can actually even see the yellow line, and I'll just click, and I'm just going to go fast. It's not going to be perfect. I could spend a little more time on it if I wanted to. I just want to get a little bit of a curve in here. There we go. I'll do one more. Okay, let's see. I kind of like to zoom down on it a little bit, make sure I've got a nice little profile. This actually wasn't too bad. And zoom all in here just to get it caught up. So there's our top view of that road curve. And if I just select it and go into the profile tool right here, let me go to settings first and do a profile 120 degrees, 600, just showing the divisions. And all I got to do is click on the profile tool and done. There it is right there. I'm in inches. I'll delete this. All I have to do is delete it, go up to the settings here, go into feet or feet and inches, select it. Really takes no time at all just to hit the profile tool again, drop it in, and there you can see the entire profile and the entire travel or distance along the profile for line of sight maybe, or you got your side view here. You can explode that, select that tight line and select it, match it to this if you want to thicken it up a little bit. So there we go. We have a nice little profile, and we could even go as far as, lining it up on the edge in here and looking at it in 3D, playing around with that too. So that's how we do a road profile in there very quickly using that data. Here's a little piece of our office right here. Okay, a little chunk of it. The office is bigger than that, but this is just one room in the office. And I happened to know that this part of the office here, I'll just do a line along the office. So there's my reference line for that edge. These are the outer windows of the office right here. Is that right? Yep. Okay, that's my outer windows. Now I'm going to minimize this for a second, and I'm going to bring out my satellite image tool. Okay, our Google and Bing maps, and we can choose between Bing or Google images, just depending on what looks the best, right? So I'll put in the office address, 47,000 or 4790 Watson, and here's our office. Sorry, just bear with me. For some reason, it's slow due to GoToMeeting. There we go. Okay, so here's the office, and this is where that section of office is right here, that reference line. So I'm just going to place this image in, and I'll double click on the image, and maybe I'll lighten it up a little bit, lock it on a layer so I can trace over it, call it good. And now I know that's the outer edge right here. Oh, I don't want to lock it. I'm sorry. I'm going to unlock it. Edit. Unlock that layer. Okay. This is the outer edge. I'm going to align it. So we have an align tool right here. It's called Align Common Points. So I'm going to select this image, click on the Align Common Points, and I'm going to go from here to here is where I know those points are. And I'm going to align it to here. And now I have that lined up, and now I'm going to pull back my point cloud here. And I did it very quickly, so you can see it's not 100% lined up, but if you were a little more careful, it would be perfect. So there's my, my image of my office sitting on the satellite. So all you're doing is bringing in a satellite image, aligning it to some reference points that you've drawn on the image, and just click a little more carefully, but it's very close. A little bit off. I don't know why, but close enough. So that's how we do it.
The first question I have is, when you combine scans, like that one room where you did multiple scans, did you combine them in the scanner program, or did you combine them in Crash?
No, we can merge images in here, but we can't do any registration or changing their data. So yes, what type of scanner do you have?
We have a Leica, so we use Cyclone. So
you're using
registration.
Yeah, so what you're going to do is you're going to use Cyclone to register your scans and apply color to the points, and then you're going to export out as a PTS file.
Okay.
And if you ever had a situation, though, where you had a scan, like a roadway, and then you had a crushed car, but it wasn't at the scene when you scanned it, it was towed away, you could scan the car. How would you get the car onto the roadway where it was? There's a program, a freeware program called Cloud Compare, and we have a little movie on it on our website that shows you how you can do a quick merge and align something like a car right to that roadway. So it's a way to do it. But yeah, we don't do that ourselves. You have to do a little bit of prep work before you go into here.
Right. All right. And next question is, we go to a lot of scenes that we don't take the scanner to. Is there a way in this program to import in like manual measurements?
Oh, absolutely. We have, and I didn't go into that, of course, because I was focusing on this part of it. But let me minimize this. If you were to look at this tool right here, it's called the coordinate data table. We can enter in hand measure baseline data, triangulation data. We can import text data like point, northing, easting, elevation, description, like if you got raw data from your point list from a total station, and we can even import like Garmin GPX data. But yeah, you totally could use, if you had your baseline here, for instance, I'll just say, okay, I'm going to go 5 feet along the baseline, 2 feet up, and give it a description as room, and then I'll just go 12 feet along the baseline, 2 feet up, and then I'll right-click room, and you can see we're building our baseline data here, and if I were to go 12 feet over and 10 feet up, and right-click and put room in, it's going to connect, and it's labeling, and if I'll just do a quick resolve on this like that. I have a resolve tool in here. There's my room, and I'll place that. I'm not going to save the data. Get rid of the baseline. And if I were to click on the tools, I can make the text a little bigger. you know, and we can hide our descriptions and see. So you have a full, all the data here. And who knows, you could certainly be using a laser scanner, and you could be combining that with baseline data and satellite image data. You never know, right? You might have forgot something or missed something and had to go back and take a measurement. And it's easy enough that if you came back in later, and let's say you did a little piece, this was part of the room here, obviously they're not aligned, you could come back and merge data. We can allow you to actually do a file and merge, which means you can bring in multiple drawings and data, and then you could say, oh, I need to align this corner to that corner. So I would just do the same thing I did with that satellite image, just select it, go to the Align tool, and say, well, I'm aligning this corner, referencing it here to this point and referencing it there. And you could just, so you could have all your total station data in, combined with point cloud data, combined with hand measurements. No reason to, you can't mix everything up.
Okay.
So is that what you were looking for?
That is, yeah.
Good.
And one last question.
Sure.
I saw you're able to draw over the satellite image, but occasionally we'll get like a building blueprint or something of a room, and we have to draw our floor plan over that. Is that possible in this program?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Now, are you talking about just a physical blueprint or like a file from the owner?
Like a file, in a PDF or something like that.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, and so a couple things to remember too. One, if you could ask, if you happen to get, most businesses, if it's a business, and we see this a lot more in the fire industry, you could actually get a hold of AutoCAD type files, DXF files. We can import those and use that data, real world scale data. But let's say you just have a blueprint. So you would merge in that, you would bring in that blueprint as an image, okay? And let me just, I just don't happen to have a blueprint, but I have some images. You'll get the idea. Let me, here, I'll bring in this. Let's say that's our blueprint. This is just a photo here, like a nice graphic, but it's nothing I can do with it but scale it. So if I knew this was a wall here, that from this endpoint to that endpoint was 20 feet. So I brought this in, it's 116, I eyeballed it when I just brought it in, it's not to scale. Pretend this is your blueprint. I know that this wall here is not 116 feet, but more like 50 feet, okay? So I'll select the whole thing here, and I will go to image scale, and I will pick this point here, and I will pick the point here. And it says, oh, it's about 115 feet where you pick, but what do you want it to be? I want it to be 50 feet, and I'll adjust it. And so now it's to scale, as close as I can get it. I can pick better points, but you can see 50, I'm very close. I can click on it again and go back to that same tool here, image edit, and I could fade it a little bit. I can lock it, the layer, so I can trace it without it getting selected. See, now I click on it, it doesn't get selected, but that does, right? So I could actually come in here now and do a little, where is it? Grab the curve, and literally start tracing this just like you did with the satellite image. It's no different. Satellite image just comes into real world scale. There's no way for this to do that. You come in here and you could put your north in and trace it. But yeah, that's exactly what you would do in that case.
You have your ortho tools too to do your 90-degree corners if it's a building.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff we could do on this too. We could come in here and do that and get a rectangle around it, and then we could grab the fillet tool and set that to 10. Let's see what that looks like. Click here, click there. Just kind of do that. All kinds of tools we could use. Trim, extend, offset, the whole works.